to now? Well, I'm just making more content for my video, or for my channel, basically. But this is I thought this would be a pretty interesting project for a lot of reasons. One is it showcases my some of the conundrums that I am faced. Conundrums that I face being someone who does traveling shows. The Dog and Pony show that I put on for craft shows is, quite frankly, it's a relatively extensive amount of crap that I got to bring with me everywhere I go. Over the years, when I, quick backstory is when I first started doing this, I packaged everything up in beer boxes. I don't drink beer anymore, so I don't have any beer boxes, and they would disintegrate over time, relatively quickly, actually. So I started buying these black plastic totes. Now, this is a quickie, interesting tidbit. The black plastic totes aren't all the same. The totes that you get from Costco, which is are different than the ones that you get from Home Depot, and they don't stack. Well, that's a problem, especially for myself. I have a small pickup truck. I have a trailer. Everything needs to stack, and to store them, they all need to stack perfectly, or else it gets all crazy and it's fucky. It just doesn't work right. So, what's today's project? Got the Empire Safe cigarettes. So, today's project is, how do you sell night lights in the daytime? Well, I make these really cool banging ass night lights. They are pretty friggin' awesome in the dark. They're night lights. They're not lamps that illuminate a room. They do, but not really that great. And the ones with color in them in particularly do not light very well. But you can't explain that to people. The clear ones are a much better. They throw a lot more light because they're clear. The color absorbs the light. Blah blah blah. But I don't have any. I don't have any of the clear ones that aren't all packed away for the winter. So, or packed away for the next show. So one of the huge things is stackability and the mobility of my setup and my gear. Now, what I have been doing for years is I pack my stuff, because everything I make is glass. Nothing will break glass faster than other glass. So what I do is I package my stuff into smaller boxes, and then I put the smaller boxes inside the big boxes. They all stack relatively nicely. I bought them all at Costco, so everything kind of fits relatively well, relatively tightly inside these boxes. If things don't jiggle and wiggle around, stuff doesn't get broken as quickly and as easily. No matter how tight you pack. I mean, the tighter you pack it, the better off you are. I'm rambling. So, it's incredibly difficult to sell night lights in the daytime. And the daytime could even just be a room like this. Anything with a lot of ambient light really sucks the light away from the night lights and makes them much more difficult to see. I want real money for these things. I'm asking, $75 to $125 for one of these. That's really at the high end of anything that anybody wants to spend at a craft show, and especially for lighting. I did sell a couple at an outdoor show not long ago, but it was more of a shape thing, right? So I did have photographs. I keep photographs on my camera or on my phone so I can show people what they look like in the dark. But that's not really great. You got to suck them in. I'm a barker. Come in, see. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Step inside, step inside. So, how do I fix this problem? Well, first of all, I'm out of cash, and I have a hoard. This is another hoard score for me, right? So I already have a bunch of these boxes. As a matter of fact, I had this one that was empty. The actual nightlight box is buried at the bottom of a stack of boxes in a closet, and I'm not digging that out. So I'm using this one as my example. It's the latest one that I built. I need to turn this box into a display that I can not only use as a display, but something that I can something I can pack stuff back into, right? You don't want to have an empty box that you're carrying around for no reason. Now, I went through multiple different iterations of how I was going to do this project. I used cardboard, three-sided cardboard backing the last couple shows that I did. It kind of worked okay. I built risers for my stuff, which won't fit inside of this won't fit inside of this box. So basically what I'm doing today is I'm blacking out the inside of the black box, and I'm going to take this, which I was using as a reflector, but it's all skanky. And I'm going to cut it into the, it's still kind of skanky. I'm going to cut this into the inside of this box. Now, I haven't quite figured that out yet. As with everything I do, I fly by the seat of my pants. I have a general idea what I want to build, and I have a general idea how I want to do it. Now, me being me, of course I built this stupid thing relatively well, so it's actually glued and screwed and pinned and every damn thing else. But I can still cut this into what I need. I was going to run the depot and buy some blackboard material. They sell at a depot in half sheets. It's blackboard / whiteboard material. But quite frankly, I don't want to spend any more money on this project that I need to, because I kind of lost the show. So I'm a little bit. I'm back down to having to do two. I have to do 2 outdoor shows in the freaking December, and they're in the daytime, so I need to make this dark box. Also, like I said, the dark box will help to sell these in even indoors, right? So they need to be in a dark area. So this is what I'm going to do. Now my game plan here is to cut this now no longer reflector, but it is 1/4-inch plywood or 1/4-inch hardboard into risers aback and risers for the inside of this. The other thing I need to do is kind of level this out a little bit. I already have a block of wood behind it. I don't want it perfectly level. As a matter of fact, I kind of want it tilted in a little bit in case somebody tips something, that stuff will fall in and not fall out. The other thing is these are all in all variable heights, so I'd like to do 3 shelves inside of this that I can stack stuff in. I don't know if I have enough material to do that with, but that's what I'm going to try to do. Another massive bugaboo with these boxes is they're made out of PP plastic, polypropylene, and nothing will stick to them, except, and I'm flabbergasted by this, this stuff. This is felt that I buy to put on the bottom of the night lights. I happen to have a case of it. So that's what's going to go on the back of this. And then depending on how cheeky I feel, I might put some on the inside. I might put some on the shelves themselves. I'm leaning towards just painting the shelves, but you never know. The one downfall to this project, or the one downfall to this setup here, is I'm going to be limited on how I can plug these in. Right now, my game plan is to use these. I have like 6 or 8 of these, and I don't think I can fit more than 8 or 9 night lights inside of this box, so I can just use these batteries. The other thing is people like to touch. People can't keep their fucking dick beaters to themselves. So my old setup I had with multiple lights plugged into a single power source is some dickhead would come in, grab and pull it over, and then the whole thing would fall over. I happen to know a dickhead that did that. So there we go. So I'm gonna set the table saw up, and I'm gonna rip this thing into some pieces, and then we're gonna figure out how we're gonna make some shelving inside of this box that I can permanently affix. Now, I wasn't gonna video this, and I thought, hey, you know what, this might be a pretty interesting one because you never know what'll happen. Ripping this particular piece of material into what I need to do it has a few challenges to it. One is when I built this, I built a frame around it, right? So I have this frame inside of here. Well, not for nothing. Me being me, I screwed and glued this goddamn thing together to the point where I can't get it apart without ripping it to shit. The other thing is I am using a saw stop table saw. Now, if you're not familiar with saw stop table saw, it uses a conductance $20 word. Conductance was the $20 word, but there's another $20 word to go with that. So it uses a conductance meter for the sake of argument to shut it off. So every human being has a certain amount of conductivity to them, and the saw stop will engage if it whacks into something that has the same conductance as a human being, or if a piece of something gets caught in between the blade and the sensor, it will also shut off. So this Mylar material is conductive. The other thing that's conductive is these staples. Now, the saw stop will cut through staples and it will cut through brad pins without an issue. But in this particular case, I'm a little concerned because of all these little flecks of Mylar. Now, I could remove all these little tiny flecks of Mylar, which I am actually kind of doing right now. But, you know, obviously, as you can see, there's still some in there. So I'm going to run the saw stop in bypass mode. The saw stop has the ability to shut off the saw stop. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to do, but in this particular case, and it's also not really safe to run. The whole reason I have the saw stop is I don't want to cut my goddamn fingers off, right? That's the whole idea of the thing. Damn, fire safe cigarettes. The other thing I got to do real quick is to measure this to make sure that when I set my fence, see this thing's kind of floppy too. One way or the other, I want to rip this down through here. As a matter of fact, is that a pin? Yeah, it might be a pin. So there's brad pins and staples and all kinds of crap in this wood. And again, hoard score. So I'd like to not have to buy anything for this. So let's rip this material down. Oh, the other thing I should mention is those black boxes have a considerable amount of draft to them. So the bottoms of those boxes are I want to say they're like 23 inches. Strike that. The bottom of the boxes are 25 inches. The tops of the boxes are 27 inches. And what does that mean? Well, that means that when I build my shelving on the inside of the box, I actually have to have angles. And if you watched my speaker video, you know that I'm not very good at cutting angles. Yeah, see these little flecks of Mylar? That's just screaming to get jammed into the table saw and trip the saw stop. So I'm a little bit nervous. I am slightly nervous about this particular project when it comes to that. I think what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to run the saw in bypass to get my rough cuts and clean up the pieces, and then I'm going to vacuum out my saw stop. The nice part about this Mylar is it does go back into the vacuum pretty easily. Or it does go in the vacuum relatively easily. Once I get this stuff cut, and I need this whole width, that's, common sense would say just rip off the edges. But I kind of need some of this. I mean, I guess I could try to get it apart. There we go. But I'm still stuck with all these staples in here, so I'm back to fucking square one. And then kind of just lost a little bit of faith in construction adhesive with that. That one doesn't want to come off. So the bottom of my box, which I don't really need to cover the bottom of the box. The bottom of the box can be just covered with the felt. I gotta think about this. Okay, now I reevaluated how I'm gonna do this. I've kind of lost a little bit of faith in construction adhesive. I think what I'm going to do here is, well, I knocked these supports out, and I'm just going to whack these staples over so I don't inevitably put my hand into one. Sure, somebody's freaking out because I'm beating on the top of my table saw, but it is what it is. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do here. The other thing is, this has got a funk to it, a very unpleasant moldy funk. So one way or the other, I'm going to paint these, or paint this. So yeah, I think the game plan here at this point is going to be to knock these off. We're going to try it. It's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So that eliminates having to, yeah, that's all. That eliminates having to worry about the Mylar. It's really all I wanted here, all I need is the plywood. See, motherfucker. The cost of using a hoard. And we'll find out how good my tetanus shot is, right? I'm just going to cut that off. I'm just going to trim the ends off. I don't need all of this, but I do need a good bit of it. But I think I can sacrifice a little bit to the... I can sacrifice a little bit. I just don't want that Mylar anywhere near my... I don't want the Mylar anywhere near my saw stop. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run the saw backwards. I'm going to run this side against the fence. I am going to run it in bypass mode because there's a shit ton of staples in here. And if the saw stop does catch a staple and it gets spun up inside of the saw itself, it will trip the saw stop. Blacktail Studios did it on fucking video, actually. It was he was cutting foam. He was cutting Mylar backed foam on his saw stop when his tripped. That's how I know. I literally watched it. It's you can see it when it happens. So let's now to run a saw stop in bypass. I'm not going to move the camera because I'm lazy. but it's a bit of a trick actually. See, yeah, this is all back. He's got to go. So we're going to just trim straight up an inch off. That's good enough. So to run a saw stop in bypass mode, there's a key on the side of it, which is actually kind of cute, but it's what it is. So you have to turn the key. Well, you got to push the key in. You got to turn the key, wait till the light blinks, and then turn the saw on. Now, once you shut the saw off, the saw you have to reset in bypass. You have to return the bypass mode back on. We're going to put this in the trash directly. Anyway, I guess I guess I should say, the obligatory don't run your saw stop in bypass. I'm a professional. I really love that giant paddle to shut the saw off with. It's really handy. The more of these staples I get rid of, the happier I will be. All right, so you kind of get the idea. The other thing is I need to move the camera because the camera's in the way of the running this through the saw. Somewhat side effect of having to move the camera, I can show you how you put your saw stop into bypass. So there's a key on the side of it here. I've talked about this in the past, but there's a key on the side here, right? So they sell these saws to a lot of schools and things, so having a key that you can't having that key is actually not a bad idea. So you turn the key, wait till it changes, it blinks, and then you turn the saw on. Then you can let the key go, and then the light blinks the whole time to tell you that you're going to cut your finger off if you're not careful. So there you go. Run your saw stop in safety mode. Now when you shut the saw off with this, it automatically defaults back to saw stop. I really love this saw. I use this saw every day. I let the key off too fast. So shut the saw back off. That's my fault. You gotta wait until it's definitely done doing its thing, and then the saw has to spin all the way up. There's a little red light that kicks on. Okay, so where am I at? So one of the problems with dealing with the inside of this box is the material itself that I'm working with. These boxes are super duper flimsy. What I should probably have done, so I need to build a structure inside of the box that I can screw to the box, which is kind of independent from the inside of the box, because the 1/4 inch plywood that I'm using, that hardboard, the screws will poke through it, right? So what I'm going to do is, So what I'm going to do is, I have all this 3/4 inch material all ready to go. So what I decided to do is, this is going to be shelf this is going to be a shelf, and that's going to be affixed to the bottom of the box here. I'm going to screw it from the outside inside using, I'm probably going to have to use some washers. The other thing is I don't have the appropriate hardware to actually kind of do this correctly. So what'll happen is the plywood will go on here. Now there's going to be a little bit of a gap between the thick. The plywood's only 1/4 of an inch thick. This is about 3/8 of an inch. I'm not worried about that. I can always just run it through the table saw in a minute once I get this structure built. So then the plywood's going to sit down on top of this, and then there's going to be a piece of plywood here, which is going to butt up to the face of this, right? So that'll be shelf 1. That'll be the only shelf actually I'm going to put in here. And then I'm going to put a piece of, I'm going to take 2 more or 3 more actually, or 4 more pieces of this 3/4 inch material. I'm going to run a piece up here, a piece in the middle somewhere, and a piece here, and then put the plywood down on top of that. So there'll be plywood here, and plywood here. And there, for the grace of God, go I. I'm not holding up, precious, Fabergé eggs. They're relatively tough night lights, and it's not a permanent thing. This is something that needs to be picked up, knocked down, and be as lightweight as possible. That's why I'm using pine, that I have it, and the lightest material I possibly could. I could have done this whole thing with 3/4 inch plywood, but I think at the end of the day that would have made it just too heavy. I also don't have 3/4 inch plywood. So that's where we're at. The next step will be cutting the plywood. Oh, there's also going to be 2 more stanchions. So what I did was I set up a saw stop, or a cut stop, and cut all these at 4 inches, and I actually have 2 more I'm going to put in. All I'm doing is gluing them with some wood glue, and then pinning them. The other way I could do it is this way too, which is not a bad idea either. I may actually do it that way. That eliminates this problem. But I want this extra thickness, this extra. Okay, as with every project that I do, this didn't work out exactly how I wanted it to. So I ended up building a shelf in here. There's only 2 shelves. There's a wider one here and then one here. I thought about doing a 3rd shelf, and I thought, it's not really even worth it. For a couple reasons. One is this isn't actually going to be the main, it may not be the main display for this giant gabagoo here is pissing me off. All right. I made the shelf. I made the shelf with the stuff that I had. So this actually ended up being way more complex than it needed to be, only because that was the material that I had to make it with. It is kind of skeletonized, so there's nothing under here. It is the lightest that I could possibly make the shelf on the inside, because I don't want the box to be, I don't want the box to be too heavy, empty. But it needs to be heavy enough that it won't blow away. I have a 2x6 propping it up in the back here, which I'll cut down and maybe paint, or it might not do anything with it. So all I did was I ran some screws in the front, and I ran some in the back, or on the bottom. I didn't put washers on them. I'm probably going to regret that later. We'll see. And there's a very distinct possibility that those will pull through. But I've been shocked in the past by things that didn't go wrong. So the next step in this, the other thing is I fit the lid, so the lid fits just fine. There is some space in between the sides here because, quite frankly, I suck at angles, right? So I wasn't going to spend a whole bunch of time figuring out the draft on this thing and blah, 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 blah. The other thing I used my stapler, which it leaves the staples a little proud on this hardboard. It's getting covered, so I'm not totally worried about it. So the next step in the process is going to be covering the inside. I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to use a bunch of this. I'm going to use, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it like that, right? So that'll fill in the gaps, and then I might, so that goes there, and then that goes there. I'm probably going to roll this down a little bit, like put it like this, right? This stuff is a little it's a little ungainly to deal with. You got to be real careful with it because it sticks to everything, including itself. As a matter of fact, the most favorite thing it likes to stick to is itself. So lining the inside of this box, and I'm going to line the whole inside, I think. Yeah, I'm going to line the whole inside. I'm just going to sacrifice what I have. This stuff isn't overly expensive. It's not cheap, but it's not overly expensive. And I think the whole box lined with the felt is going to give it just a little bit more darkness or depth to the inside of the box. We'll see. You know, as with everything I do, everything's a prototype until it's not a prototype anymore. I'm not going to make a whole bunch of these. I may make one more for my partner, but I don't know if I'm going to do that because I don't know if I'm going to do that. This was a pain in the ass to make, and I only had so much material, so I can't actually make another one without going to go buy materials. So that's a little problematic. Like I said, there's a 2x4 in the back here. Otherwise, it would sit like this. And that's actually not too awful to not have something propping it up. But I wanted to prop it up a little bit because, you know, for the most part, light comes down from the top. And if it's tilted back, light's going to go in like this. If I put it like this, it'll shade it just a little bit more. Everything I do takes forever. I figured I'd try a couple test pieces before I actually turn the camera back on. This stuff, this stuff here is tenaciously sticky. Like I said, this is PP plastic and nothing really likes to stick to it. I don't have total faith that it won't fail eventually, but for the time being, it's sticking pretty good. I normally don't do it this way, but I gotta stretch it a little. Felt is fickle. And once you put this stuff down, you better want it. You better make sure that's where you want it because you can get a little stretch out of it, but not too much. It's going to be rough. The felt is going to be rough on the inside. Again, this is a display. This is actually the upside, or the top of the display. So you're gonna have to look really hard to see it. I was trying this spot first to see how it went. I don't want to go too low either. That sucks. I can't do it with half a sheet. I might be able to. It's really it. And fudge. All right. So we're gonna keep it that way. And I said I'm just kind of jamming this crap in here. I'm actually gonna do this shelf next. And I said I'm just kind of jamming it in. Just doing it. Do it. Just like every other project I do, when I get about 3/4 of the way through and it's not going the way I want it to, I just kind of say, hell with it. And just roll with whatever comes out. It's a terrible way of being, but it's it's just kind of sadly the way I am. Like I said, this stuff is super sticky. Damn it, stuck to itself. Like I said, the only thing this stuff likes to stick to more than everything else is itself. Yeah. And you can see how when you pull it off, it gets really kind of angry. I've used this to line the inside of jewelry boxes with, and if you need more than one piece, you're in trouble. It doesn't seam very well. At least I haven't had good luck with it. Yeah, this is a problem. I knew that was going to happen. Might be able to put a second layer over it to hide the seam, but again, I don't really care. This is more of a lark for me than anything else. See, that one actually peeled off perfectly. It's not too awful lumpy, so. The other thing is, this stuff gets real dirty easy. Yeah, I'm not too crazy about it. It must be 2 o'clock on Wednesday. If I could get that to go like that and then stretch it a little bit around here. The other thing I can do is paint this edge. When I'm done, I'll just take a black Sharpie and along the edge. Actually, I might do that now. Okay, well, here we are. The box is done, kind of. I don't particularly like the way the felt went in here, but the upside is the felt actually sticks. So I'm going to live with it for the time being. Yeah, I'm going to live with it for the time being. As you can see, and actually it's still kind of hard to see here, it makes a massive difference with the when it's in the box, right? So it's out here, you can't really see it. And then when you put it in the box, it looks pretty decent. It looks a lot better, and it's when they're in the box like that. So, I think I'm going to live with it. I ran out of felt, so I can't do the whole top. I want to do the whole inside. I was originally only going to do the shelf, and then I noticed pretty quickly that only doing the shelf kind of, it was still a little bit reflective inside the box. So it's kind of where we're at. Now I got to make more nightlights. Well, if you're interested in one of my nightlights, feel free to reach out to me. I do have some left, and I do have some that you can see via my Facebook page, which is Fez Hot Glass on Facebook. Not all the ones I have are on the website, and as a matter of fact, a bunch of them are sold. I should probably go through I should probably go through that website and mark which ones are sold and which ones aren't. But feel free to reach out because they are all up on there. All right.